I was brought up in, quote, Bedford-Stuyvesant in my time. But I would like to say what scares us is I think we hear violence.
The young lady said she's afraid of violence. And isn't it sad that we who have been the victims of so much violence, now whites fear violence from us? We do not have a history of killing white people. White people have a history of killing us. See? And what you fear, may I say this, sir? What you fear, and it's a deep guilt thing that white folks suffer. You are afraid that if we ever come to power, we will do to you and your fathers what you and your people have done to us. And I think you are judging us by the state of your own mind, and that is not necessarily the mind of black people.
Why do white people resent black excellence? Let's talk about it. Not all white people are racist, obviously, but there is a specific subset for whom black excellence seems like a personal affront to them, right? It really bothers them when black people succeed. The 13th Amendment emancipated enslaved black Americans in 1865, and then the Jim Crow laws kind of wrapped up with the passing of the Civil Rights Act in 1964. So if we do the math, that's about 61 years in which black Americans were able to strive for success in any sort of meaningful way without like the constraints of the law pulling them down. 61 years. If we compare that to white Americans who besieged a land already owned and occupied by indigenous Americans, we'll put that around 1620 when, you know, the Mayflower came here, then that gives them about 425 years to establish success in this country. 425 versus 61. If we compare those two fundamentally very different time spans, like, how much did white Americans actually do in all of that time? If we were to compare even the poorest and most underprivileged of white America to black America generally, it is clear that white Americans are born way past the start line, right? By that I mean, by like nature of being white in American society, you do benefit from all sorts of privileges. And like, to be frank, you're not exhausted by the horrible experience of facing racism on a daily basis, right? You do have a ton of privileges. So I imagine existing in this bubble of privilege that you like totally deny, the existence of black people for whom success is like second nature when it comes so easily and so readily, even though you've only had 61 years to achieve it, I imagine that's exhausting and frustrating. I imagine it makes people feel super, super inferior and hurts certain people's tiny, tiny little egos. And what do they blame that deep, deep psychic pain on? Well, of course, DEI and critical race theory and affirmative action. So I guess the question is, what might help those white Americans who just so strongly detest black excellence? Like, what will help you? And for that, I would suggest like a lot of therapy, like a ton of therapy. And I would also just suggest that we open the schools, right? We teach people history. Yeah, maybe? Okay, bye.
What are these white people afraid of?
They're afraid of black groups, mobs, rising up and taking the power. It does make me feel uncomfortable to talk about these things because they are incredibly disturbing and revolting.
Eric Lott, a professor at the Graduate Center of the City University of New York, says blackface represents a strange mix of envy, fascination, desire, and fear. The history of blackface is long and complex and deeply ingrained in our culture.
Who was that lady I saw you with this afternoon? That was no lady. That was my wife.
Even Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd blacked up.
And our lady sings this song, the campers start clubbing along. Fantastic, isn't it? Wine run all night.
For more than 100 years, white and then black performers wore dark makeup and created not only a popular theatrical form, but stereotypes that are still with us today.
Money's about to get really tight for a lot of American families, and I'm worried that white people are going to do what they historically do and fall back on their racism instead of standing in solidarity with the rest of the working class. And I'm sure some people will say that I'm reaching, but the history in this country shows that white people largely stopped supporting social programs and unions as soon as black and brown people got a seat at the table. And rather than coming together with the working class to make things better for everyone, they would rather withhold resources and opportunities for themselves because it's like they've been convinced by conservatives that the social order requires black and brown people to be doing worse than them. And I'm only bringing this up because I think we can do something about it if we call out selfishness when we see it. Psychologists have been studying the concept of last place aversion for years, which says that people would rather take fourth place if they think that someone else will be in fifth, rather than working together to share third place. But when we're talking about programs that would benefit the entire working class, we need to put that mentality behind us and start calling out selfishness. Remind people that their family is part of a larger community. And remind your families that they have much more in common with the black and brown families across town than they do with the billionaires who are holding them under their thumb.
Why are white folks so scared about black excellence? I could take a guess and say that it's the fear of the unknown, because having to live in a society where you are thriving, you are the majority of the community in that particular country, being the people who systems are always accommodating and are always favoring, then coming to want to understand what it would be like for another culture to rule over you, knowing the things that you have done now and also in history, the things that your ancestors have done to the particular group that will come to lead you at a certain point. I think that is what scares white people so much, because they don't know if black people continue become winning, if they continue being smarter than white people, they continue earning more money than white people, they continue living in better neighborhoods than white people, then that will mean that they are winning and they are dominating a certain niche, or actually a certain country, where white people are seen as the most powerful and have continuously been taught that they are the most powerful. So coming to get into terms with, so black people can actually be better than me, they can be more superior, or they can be more successful than I am, or more educated than I am. I think that is what brings white people to a point where they are too much into black people's businesses. They are too much into making sure that the system continuously works for them. And that's why we have Trump as a president in America. Because coming to see, or trying to even imagine that a black person can actually lead you in a certain country, and the country's history is about enslaving the person from that particular group, is crazy. And I would also be scared too. I will also be scared too. But what white people need to understand is, if black people wanted to revolt and wanted to do crazy things, they would have a long time ago. But they always, even after what America has done to them, even with the systems that are still playing against them, they have always chosen to be better and to rise above everything that white people have done to them. I'm not saying that all black people are rising above this, but majority of them are. The problem comes when white people just try and get into black people's businesses. They want to continuously make sure that black people don't win, they don't get anything, they don't even get a seat at the table. When people are discussing things about them, white people are the people who are deciding what to do with black people. And that's where the problem comes. You should be able to let black people thrive together with you. It's not going to take anything from you, I promise. But before I give my full commentary, let's dive in and listen to what other people have to say. Then we'll come back and talk about it. See you.
We hear violence.
I'm so scared to go around the world next year, because I was never a prejudiced person until I'm listening to you. It's really scary hearing what you're saying. I'm very scared.
As white people, is our deepest fear that we are inadequate? Or is our deepest fear that black excellence is powerful beyond measure? It is their light, not their darkness, that most frightens us. We ask ourselves, who are they to be brilliant, gorgeous, talented, fabulous? Actually, who are they not to be? Look honestly, and you will see how they demonstrate love as a reflection of our unwarranted hate. Our playing God does not serve the world. There is nothing enlightened about positioning ourselves and controlling the narrative so that black and brown folks feel insecure around us. We are all meant to shine as children do. We were born to manifest the glory of the spirit that is within us. And it's not just in some of us, it's in all of us, no matter what your skin tone is. And as we let our own light shine, by atoning for and repairing the harm of our ways, as we learn to serve and see the true greatness of Aboriginal and Indigenous cultures and human beings around us, we unconsciously give white people around the planet the permission to do the same. As we are liberated from our own fears, our presence automatically liberates others. From this point, we can build a new world that is connected to the planet and each other. Together, humanity is achievable.
I'm going to keep saying this with my whole chest because some people are not deep thinkers. I understand that you're not a critical thinker. This is not for you. It's just not for you. Scroll up. So, my point today is, well, not today, but at this moment, like, why does Black joy bother some white people? And some other groups, but majority is white people. And not all of you. You know what I'm talking about. You ever notice how the group of Black folks, like, they come together laughing, dancing, and just vibing, and suddenly it's labeled as too loud, too ghetto, or too much? Jealousy. Jealousy. You know why? Because they couldn't strip that away. And it's surviving. But let's be real. It's not about the volume that's the problem. It's the vibrations. It's the freedom. It's the fact that we can still find joy after centuries of trying to be stripped of who we are. We still make something out of nothing. You understand? See, Black joy is like disruptive in certain people. It challenges. And where we're supposed to be broken and angry and silent, it's like loving, living, and celebrating. So it's not just confusion. It's threatening to a certain group of people. Because Black joy, for us, is power, is resistance, it's healing, it's ancestral. Of all the things they said we could not do, it's lies. Remember, we were here way before other groups were here. And now our happiness is not a performance. It's reclaiming who we said we always were. So the next time somebody looks uncomfortable with your Black joy, remember that you're not the problem. They're just uncomfortable and can't believe that after all this time, we are still celebrating who we are and who we are meant to be and who we are growing to be. So tell me, have you ever felt like your joy made somebody else uncomfortable? Let's talk about it, y'all. To me, I don't give a flying fuck who feels uncomfortable. This is my life, my body, and if you feel uncomfortable, move the fuck away. Right? Because where I was for Black Bike Weekend, we were on the side, I'm not gonna say the grown folks side, but we like our peace. So of course, it was a mix of Black and white people. Like, we all around each other. We all talking to each other. You think anybody grabbed their purse because they see bikers in leather? No, they're used to it. They're talking, they're waving, they're like, oh, let me tell me about your bike, blah, 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 blah. These are people talking, not afraid and not jealous. There are some, but we didn't cross any this weekend. Okay? But have y'all ever experienced that? Like, you having joy, you having celebration, especially with all the graduates. Did you see those comments talking about Black fatigue in the comments of Black joy celebrating the college? See, the point that I'm trying to get at is no one who doesn't, how can I say this? If you Black, you understand. It comes naturally, and it doesn't matter what state you from. We all have a common denominator of celebrating our Blackness, and people can't stand that. People can't stand that. And I'm not just talking about in America. We go somewhere else. Black joy is celebrated different ways, but we still have that common denominator of celebrating of what we achieve regardless of the fact. Okay, I'm gonna get off my soapbox.
Child, imagine having a head start and you still losing. But here's the plot twist. You think you winning. My grandma would say, bless their little hearts. 'Cause white supremacy really think it's winning. But baby, they made the people that's gonna beat it. Now stick with me. You ever work out with weights on, put on a weighted vest and ran laps? That's what racism did. Put weights on our backs, weights on our ankles for generations. But you know what happens when you work out with weights or a weighted vest? Oh, y'all know. It makes you stronger, skilled, faster, resilient. Baby, the weights didn't break us. They trained us. Baby, they've been sitting back with a 400-year head start, kicking their legs up, thinking mediocre is a trophy. Meanwhile, we've been in the trenches, baby, getting it out the mud, creating, learning, building. And baby, that's why our excellence is a transferable skill. That's why we keep showing up better, smarter, louder. And baby, this ain't just talk. Look at the wealth gap. That's proof right there. The system is stacked. But despite that, Black entrepreneurship is still growing. Black businesses are still fueling communities. Our art, our music, and culture. And the world, baby, they still trying to catch up. Child, they rig the rules, they cheat, they rewrite history, and they still losing. Bless their little hearts. You got Karens and Kens watching everything we do like it's a mystery. It ain't no mystery. It's resilience. It's resistance, love, family, community. That's Black culture. That's Black excellence. So yeah, it looks like we're going to have to keep those vests on for a little longer. Because baby, the race ain't over. But they done messed up. They underestimated us. Big mistake. Black history is the movement. Every day. Happy Black History 365. And I'll see you next time.
White fear of Black excellence isn't really about Black people. It's about the fragility of the systems that depend on Black inferiority. The more the system continues to whitewash, it continues to make sure that white people feel as they are superior to a certain or other cultures. That is what they're aiming for. And that's why we have so many white people voting for Trump. And even after Trump has done crazy things to them, he has deported so many people who are working for these people. So these white people are going under so many losses right now. He has even deported kids and wives of some white people. But you see, even those white people too now, they will not recognize the failure that they made. They will not recognize the mistake that they made. They will say, oh yeah, well, it happened, it is what it is, and hopefully the next president will do better. Instead of actually thinking about the mistake that you've done and actually saying, oh, I am so sorry, and I should have actually probably thought about what I was doing before I went to the ballot and voted. Taking accountability. And that's the problem, I guess, with America right now, because people like Trump will never fail to be in power if we still have people who think this way. That's actually a backward way of thinking, because if you think that someone has to look like you to be in power without even looking at their credentials, without telling you, or actually you studying their history and understanding what they were doing before they wanted to campaign or they wanted to be president, then that's a problem with you. You're the problem. You should try and understand, why am I voting for this person? Am I voting for him just because he looks like me and I'm sure that he will continue to give me the special treatment and then do worse things to people who don't look like me? Or am I voting for him because he's actually a good man who will make sure that everyone in this country will live happily and equally together? So also, the Black achievements expose the lie that success and brilliance belong to whiteness. White people have been fed, they have also been conditioned. White people have been conditioned, something that they don't even know, to believe that they, or their skin color, is a representation of good, a representation of heroes, a representation of unity and solidarity to our country, or even richness and anything good that accompanies, good things. White people have been taught that their skin color just has to incorporate whiteness. Their skin color has to incorporate success. You cannot not be white and be successful. That is what they have been conditioned to think. And that's why you will see white people saying that Black people are taking their jobs. They will say that brown people are taking their jobs. But at the end of the day, it's the politicians that you chose that are eating more than they can actually swallow. They are taking so much from your pockets that you don't realize, even if this Black person is fired and this brown person is deported or fired, there will still not be enough for you. Right now, you can see it. So many white people are going under so many debts. They are going under so many losses because they thought that immigrants, they were actually fed this, that immigrants and Black people and brown people and any other people who are not them, who are not white people, are taking their jobs, they're taking their money, they're being supported by the government through welfare. They're actually the people who are getting more from the government than they white people. And now they're coming to learn that it's actually them who depend more on the government. Who would have known, huh? Also, excellence in any sphere forces a rewriting of that narrative. which can be unsettling to those invested in keeping old stereotypes alive. Also, the comparison breeds resentment, jealousy, and defensiveness. Once you compare the excellence of a black person and the failures of a white person, it brings up defense. White people want to start fighting. If you call out a white person for being racist, they will actually want to fight you and say, no, I'm not a racist. I have black friends. I have a janitor who is black or Asian or brown, Hispanic or Latina, and they want to actually fight you because you told them that a statement they made was inappropriate and racist. And when you see black people standing up for themselves and not going with what history has taught white people, that slaves used to bow down to their slave owners or their bosses or their people who owned them at the time. They were told that even if you take a black man, you separate him from his family, you take everything that he owns, you kill anything and everyone he cares about, he will still worship you, he will still bow down to you, and he will still serve you. So coming from that, where you're taught that white history made white people look like they were heroes and they had power over black people, then telling a black person something and they call you out for it and they don't back down and they tell you, do not make a mistake to think that I'm my ancestors, because I will slap you. I will slap you. And I think that comes off as a threat. It's like, okay, so if a black person can speak to me like this today, then what about tomorrow? What if they become the president? Then what happens? Will they remember what I did? Will they make sure that I am probably brutalized by the police or something bad happens to me? I think that is the problem with white people, and not having sleepy nights. They're having sleepless nights because they cannot imagine a world where black people dominate over them, because they do not know what black people are capable of doing to them, because they have seen what they have done to black people. It just scares them. But anyway, if you have learned something today, if you have learned something from this video, kindly do consider liking, share to your friends and family so that we can learn together. Also comment, do you agree with me with what the video is talking about, or do you completely disagree? Comment what you think about it, and kindly do subscribe, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.